Hey guys, it is June and it is time for the mid-year freakout. Hey guys, if you're new here, welcome to the Book Path. My name is Nicole, and if this isn't your first rodeo, thank you guys for sticking around with me. It is time for June, which means we are halfway done with the year, which means mid-year freakout. What is going on? What's happening? There are a few questions for me to answer, so we'll go ahead and get started. So question number one is, what is the best book you've read so far this year? There's about two that really kind of jump out at me. And the first one is The Shadow of Theron by Catherine Troy. This one is fantasy, adventure, romance, very heavily influenced by Zorro, which is like a childhood love of mine. So it just really, I had a lot of fun reading it. There were quirks to it. There was humor to it. There was adventure. There was sword fighting. It was just really like, it was classic, but like such a fun spin and fantastical spin on the classic. I know it is going to be the first in the series, so I look forward to reading the second one. But it was a 5-star all around for me, and I really, really enjoyed it. The second book that I read, I had on my list for a while, and then I started seeing it make the rounds on BookTube, and that was The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This was a 5-star for me, and I think it was like a 4-star for Steaminess, I can't remember. But I really enjoyed this book. It was kind of like, you had the competition, you had this really dark kind of vampire world, you had a kind of enemies to lovers going into it, and it was just really well written. I have the sequel lined up to read. I haven't gotten to it yet, but it was just really, really good, and I enjoyed it. And The Shadow of Theron and The Serpent and the Wings of Night are two books that I would highly recommend reading if you're going to read any sort of fantasy books this year. So question two is, what is the best sequel you have read so far? And this book I was going to actually put also as one of the best books I've read so far, but I figured since I was going to use it for this question, I didn't want to use it for that one. And that is Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert. This is the third, yes, this is the third book in the Dark Olympus series. I really liked this book. This was a 5 stars for both just reading and a 5 stars for the spice level. You basically have an Achilles and Patroclus retelling with Helen kind of thrown in a sort of male-female relationship. What I really loved about this, there was a competition in here, and you have Helen trying to fight her way to basically just having her own power for herself, and how she doesn't want to be a pawn in her brother's power. She doesn't want to be used. She wants her freedom, and her only way for her to have freedom is to seek out power for herself. So she joins in the competition against Achilles and Patroclus and a bunch of other combatants to become the new Ares, which is like the new seat of power over kind of like your war and military measures for the Olympus town or city. And then you have Achilles and Patroclus, who have their relationship, and they are kind of wanting to break out and kind of have power and security in their own. So you have all three of them kind of clashing. And what I really, really loved about it was the way that she wrote the relationships in this book. The fears, the insecurities, the, desires. It was so real about what a relationship could be, or the wariness of what some, the downsides of what you fear in a relationship, but you still like love people. And so I really liked that spin on it. So like I said, this was the best sequel I have read so far. This is a great series. I highly recommend it. So question number 3 is, what is your favorite reread? I don't really reread a lot of books. I haven't reread anything this year, but I am looking to, if you've watched some of my recent videos, you know that I was able to get my hands on all 4 of the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Previously to that, I have only read the first 2 through an ebook. So I know that the 5th book, I think, is coming out next month in July. So I plan to reread the first 2 in that, and then continue on with all 4 so that I can get the new book and stay up to date on that. So that will be my reread. So I guess it's the reread I'm looking forward to. but not a reread that I've done yet. Question number 4 is, what genre have you been reading most and loving? This year, hands down, I have been reading a lot of fantasy romance. Everything from some Cassandra Clare, her Last Hours books, to a couple of, little novellas and things that I've read for Fave, to, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, to some of the Blood and Ash. I mean, I've been kind of all over the place with some fantasy romance. I just love the aspect of, what I really love is when you have a fantasy world that has fantastical creatures in it or supernatural creatures in it, and you build like a romance story into this complete other world that, maybe they have a different magic system, maybe they have a different belief system. There's castles, sometimes it's really dark, sometimes they twist mythologies. And I just find that very interesting. And, who doesn't love a good, fairy tale romance story, but that's really what I've been reading a lot. I have been getting a little bit of an inkling towards reading a little bit more suspense or thriller. I scare myself enough to not really go after a lot of the adult horror stuff, but I have been getting a few books to save up for Spookathon, or if I get a prompt to read something spooky. But I know I have a few later this month. I think I have Final Girls is on my queue for the rest of this month. So I do kind of want to check that out, but yes, for the entire year, it has really been fantasy romance. So for question number 5, it is, what new releases do you want to read but you haven't got yet? So many. So many would be my answer, but the top 3 for me is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I have been seeing this all over BookTube as of late. I know that it has something to do with riding dragons and a dragon academy, and a girl who has, I'm sorry, I keep touching my nose. It's just dusty. A girl who maybe is not as strong as other students, and she gets selected to go to the school. I hear there might be some sort of romance or enemies to romance in there. I'm not sure, but everybody has just been loving it so much, and it sounds really good. So that is probably the top of my list of what I want to get. The next one would be A Game of Malice and Greed by Carolyn Peckham and Susan Valenti. They wrote I don't have them. They wrote the Zodiac Academy series, and I started reading that, and I really, really like that story, and I want to continue with that series. So knowing how they write, I kind of wanted to check out this new series from them. I don't know much about it, but it does kind of have, I think it has that school setting once again, and it might be a little bit more darker. But like I said, I really liked the writing, and I'm eager to see what they do with another series. And then last, of course, is the Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. This, I think, is a interim novel, either between the first and the second book of The Serpent and the Wings of Night by that she did, or it comes shortly after. But it is in that world of that duology. So I do want to read that because, like I said, I really loved that book. So getting back to that world and seeing more from different characters, or just new storylines within that world, would be really awesome. So question number 6 is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Without a doubt, that is going to be Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I love the Shadowhunter world. I have read The Dark Artifices. I really, really loved that series. I have one book left to be done with The Lost Hours. Not as huge of a fan, but I still love the world. And then I plan on tackling The Mortal Instruments and the rest of the books. So I really love that world that she's created. I love her writing style. Swordcatcher seems to be something completely different. So I'm really curious to see if I will still like her writing when she's not writing for the Shadowhunters. So that is one that I want to read. And I think it has 2 characters. If memory serves, I think one is supposed to stand in for the prince in case the prince gets hurt. He's supposed to take the damage. I'm not sure about it, but it sounded really interesting. It's another kind of fantasy world. And like I said, I want to see what her writing is outside of the Shadowhunters. So that is probably what I'm most excited for. But there's a bunch, especially coming out in September, October. There's I have a list. Your biggest surprise of the year. I don't know if it's a big surprise. Well, to me it is. But basically, this year I felt like I haven't been completing a lot of the readathons I've signed up for. I felt very slow in my reading compared to last year. So I'm really surprised that I'm only like 2 books behind my 100 book of the 100 books for this year goal. So that's surprising to me, that I thought I would be like so much more behind, but I'm really not. So it's just interesting for me. There's also hasn't been as many 5-star reads for me this year as I had last year, but I mean, what are you gonna do? It's gonna happen. They're not all gonna be 5 stars, but there are still like enjoyable reads that I've had. As far as like a book surprise, I would say I was pleasantly surprised by Silver Tongue Devils by Dawn Montgomery. This was like a little sci-fi romance thing, steamy book that I read for, I think it was the 72 Hour Smut Den. And I was really surprised by it. I am not one really for sci-fi spaceships kind of stuff. And this one, you had a, it was kind of a male-female relationship, male-male female relationship between a space pirate captain, undercover prince, and his first mate, who's kind of like a cat, tiger, beast human mix, and then a female who I don't know if she was a princess or something other. She didn't know her past. She was kind of like raised to be like this hacker, and she hacked ships. So it's just kind of like their way of being thrown together and then learning the truth and, you know, kicking butt and fighting for their freedom. And they're going to be kind of like this rebel alliance type thing. So it was just really interesting, and I didn't think I was going to love it as much as I did. And I really did. I loved the relationship between them. I loved the actual like sci-fi parts of it. So it was interesting, and I was surprised by that one. Question number 8 would be a new favorite author. For me, I'm going to go with Carissa Broadbent because of The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. Obviously, it has made me really interested to read a lot more of her. And as well as Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti, who did the Zodiac Academy, and reading more of their works. I think that, like I said, the books that I did read of theirs made me put down the book when I was done with it and then look them up to be like, what else do you have? So I would say that they're probably my 3 favorite authors of the year so far, new authors that I hadn't read before. Question number 9 is, do you have a newest favorite character for the year? My newest favorite characters for the year are probably, there's 3 from 2 different books. The first one would be Lysandro, also known as the Shadow of Theron, because he is that Zorro character. And like I said, I grew up watching the old black and white Zorro movies, and then we watched the Antonio Banderas one. So Zorro is very close to my heart. So reading this was just very nostalgic for me. But I love that kind of masked crusader that has the heart of gold, but has the little mischievousness, the little wittiness and charm to him. Loved it. So I really did like him as a character. The 2 other characters I liked was Darcy and Tori, and they're the twin sisters from the Zodiac Academy. I like that there are some aspects, like at first I didn't know if I was going to like them because they kind of, growing up in the foster system that they did and having that tough life, they kind of have this almost arrogant, I can take care of myself thing that I don't usually like in characters, but I understood it. But as the story goes on and you see them, you really start to see the vulnerabilities. And so all the kind of bravado that they show is really just this big mask. And the sad part is everybody kind of knows that it's a mask for them. So it took like the whole book for their full vulnerabilities to come out. And like I said, I've only read the first book, but towards the end of the first book, they were just so broken that I am so eager to see them step back up and reclaim their power, because you know they're going to do it, and I am just rooting for them. So I really liked their characters. I liked a few other characters in that story as well, but I really wanted to root for them, and I really, like, my heart broke for them when they had to go through like any pain. It just was just, and I love that when you can just really feel what the character's feeling and just root for them, and you're just so, because you get so enwrapped in the story that when something does happen, you physically respond to it. And so that I think is really great. The next question is question number 10. A book that made you cry. I didn't cry yet from a book. I don't really want to read books that make me cry right now. But I did get choked up towards the end of, I think I have it here. I got a little choked up towards the end of Silver and Blown by Alexandra Bracken. There was just a really devastating scene of loss towards the end of this book that this is kind of like an Arthurian, I don't want to say retelling, but it's like a spin-off because it does have some of the Arthurian characters in there. And like I said, it was just, there was this gut-wrenching kind of emotional scene at the end that just got me choked up. And I'm not going to go into it because it would give away the details, but that would probably be as close to I got. Otherwise, the other one that I didn't cry, but I did get emotional over it, and that was Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. This is not a happy book. Like, there is no happy ending in this book for really anybody. It has a lot to do with the different types of relationships, from romantic relationships to marriages to sisterly bonds to paternal bonds, maternal bonds, society, all in kind of the leading up to World War II and then after World War II, I think it goes to the 1970s in, I think it's Japan and in Korea. And it was just gut-wrenching because, like I said, nobody has a happy ending in this. It's just drama, drama, drama. And you just find yourself, you're hoping, like you read through this whole book and you're just hoping somebody's gonna have a happily ever after. And it doesn't, but it is still a very beautiful story. I can see why it's been so acclaimed. I can see why they made I think there's the series on Apple TV. It is without a doubt a book that I highly recommend reading, but like I said, just be forewarned, it is not a happy story at all. So book 11 is a book that made you happy. I'm going to go with The Shadow of Theron because I was giggling and I felt like I was, back to my kid days of, cheering on Zorro. And so that one just really, I think, made me super happy to read. I just had a blast with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one again and say that. The 12th question is, what are the most beautiful books you have bought? So sadly, I do not have any of those beautiful Fairy Loot or Illumicray edition books. People you might not think that they are the most beautiful covers of books, but they are beautiful to me, and that is going to be the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. You will hear me rave about it. There's not a whole lot. Like I said, this is just a very basic, but I do love the just the kind of basic, the flowers, the swords. I think as time goes on, like, they're basic, but they're kind of basic, beautiful. And then this one does get, a little bit more of the embossing on there. Oh my God, they're gonna fall, they're gonna fall, they're gonna fall. No. Let's put you over there. The crown. And you don't really get, like, I haven't found a lot of hard covers that have the embossing and things on there. So there are very pretty, books to it. And like I said, I'm super, like, these books, I love these books. I love this world. I love the world. I love the myths. I love the relationships. I love the characters. I just, like, hands down, it's become my favorite, like, obsession series. So I would say those are my most prettiest books that I love the most so far this year. Then you have question number 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Well, I know that before the end of the year, I was supposed to complete my 40 before 40, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, but I do have some ideas for that, which I will talk about in future videos on the non-completion of that. So I'm not really going to include those, but like I said, I do want to read the Blood and Ash series before the new book comes out. I think there are some books that I have from my 40 before 40 that I'm curious to maybe see if I can match the book with a location that's near me, and kind of do like a video out of that. So those books are ones that I want to read. But overall, I think my goal is just to be able to read the books on the book challenges that I try to do. I know August is going to be Magical Readathon, which is the heavy book month because it kind of doubles up on what you have done in the spring for the spring equinox classes. So that is always kind of dreading to me because I was the one who decided I'm going to do 2 characters. So I have a lot of books to read in August. I know last August we also did Polarthon, Spoopathon, and Tropical Readathon, and I think Tropical Readathon was the only one I didn't fully finish, but like it was a massive amount of books that was done in that month. So being able to challenge myself but complete the challenges and the books therein would be like my goal, and then completing what I need to read for the to get the 100 books. I think those would be what I need to read for the end of the year. My 14th question, what is your favorite video or post that you have done so far this year? I think for me, it was the spring thrift book haul video. I'll go ahead and I'll link that down below. It was just a simple video. I love going and finding good deals at like local thrift stores on, you know, books that really don't have anything wrong with them. And surprisingly, like I found a lot of books that I've been wanting to read. So finding them for like $1 or $2, I mean, that's a great bargain. So I'm always excited to do that. But finding out too that my spring thrift book haul video got so many views on it was really surprising to me. And I'll take it. I'll take it. I thought that was really great. And I really loved that. So I think that was like a surprising video for me to do, but I love going and doing these thrift haul purchases and then sharing them with you because I get all excited about the good deals that I got. So I would say that was probably my favorite video or post that I've done so far this year. And the last question is, what are your fave book community members? There's so many. I think first and foremost, I'm going to be thankful for all of my viewers and all of you guys who subscribe to me. There's a few of you who have reached out and told me what books you're reading, maybe reading with your spouse or other family members, books that gave you good memories. And I really, really enjoyed reading those. They make me smile and they just make me feel good to know that you guys are enjoying what I do, and to be able to communicate over books and talk about, you know, what makes us happy in the book world. So really having that kind of relationship with you guys, and just having you guys stay tuned and tune in and watch what I do and communicate with me. I mean, you guys are just awesome. So big shout out to all of you guys there. I think probably other booktubers that I really admire or that I like, kind of like when they post something I have to watch, it's probably going to be How to Train Your Gavin, because he's just funny and I love and admire the work that he puts into his videos, his kind of I don't care attitude towards some of the things that happen in his videos. He's just all in good fun, and I really admire and respect that about him. Becca from Becca in the Books, I love kind of watching what she's reading because she does do a lot of fantasy romance as well. I love doing Book Roast, G over at Book Roast. She is amazing for the amount of content she creates for her readathons. I just am like floored by the just depth and details that she puts into everything. Her Magical Readathon is amazing. That she does some, I think they're ASMR videos for it. I'm like, it's just, she's amazing. I also love Steph over at Steph Loves. She has, I don't know, she's just got this kind of calming presence about her when she does things. She does the Literature Book Club. She does the Final Book Support Group. And I don't know, it feels comforting to like watch her shows and to see what she's doing. And every once in a while we're like hit or miss with what she likes and what I like, but I do like kind of seeing that. So it's kind of like, I think they're all in the UK. So bringing it over to our side of the pond, I would say I really love Cass over at Books with Cassidy. She just has fun. I love doing her Realmathon, and just kind of her, you know, quirkiness that she has. Mel at Melanor Reads is another one that she does the smut dens and, you know, kind of just having fun exploring, and they're, when they get together and they do their little live shows and reading sprints, there are some very interesting topics that get covered. So I like a lot of them. I know that I'm missing so many more. Jade over at JD Raid Reads, Cassandra over at, oh gosh, is it Books and Things? But there are so many other wonderful booktubers out there that are putting forth content that is just so much fun to watch, so interesting, great book idea topics, and it's fun. So that is about that, and that is my mid-year freakout tag. I am at this point about 44 books into my 100 book goal, so we will see how that goes. But thank you guys for tuning in and watching and staying with me for the first 6 months. Hopefully you'll be with me for the next 6, and see how I do for the rest of the year. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.